All right, and welcome back to another episode of Donut Squad Radio. I'm here with my co-host, Colin, and my name is Adrian. Colin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really, really well. How about you, Adrian?
I'm doing really well as well. I'm really excited to be here in your kitchen talking about the things we love. Here on Donut Squad Radio, you can listen to two best friends talk about the fandoms they love, which include, but are not limited to, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, and anything else we want to get into. Tonight we have kind of a special show. Last week we went and saw Matt Reeves' The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, as well as an amazing star-studded cast.
Great cast, yeah.
And today we are going to focus solely on The Batman, our initial thoughts, and just kind of go over everything we liked about the movie, anything we didn't like. I don't have too many things to say about what I didn't like, though.
This will be the Batcast.
Yeah, the Batcast, the Batman after show.
Donut Squad Radio.
So sit back and relax and get ready to listen to some Batman. So, Colin, initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was, they took characters in great directions. Each one of them, their motives were kind of clear the whole time. But they also included some real-world aspects to some of the more menacing characters that I think made them even creepier.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll obviously touch on that later. But as far as the movie goes, I think a lot of people are going to kind of look at the runtime and be, if they're not super into Batman or superhero movies, they're going to be like, wow, 3 hours of my life I gotta give to a movie. But trust me, it flies by.
Yes.
It really does. There was not a moment where I was like sitting there looking around the theater or anything like that. Every single scene progresses the story. There isn't one that's just like, they could probably have left that on the cutting room floor.
I agree. I have this little test that I do to kind of gauge if I'm enjoying a movie for the first time. And if I have to do this test, typically it means I'm not fully enjoying this movie. But I'll like look away from the screen, and if I immediately have like the like itch to like turn back to the screen, like I'll just look down or something. And then if I'm like, oh no, I can't look away even for a second,
right.
Like that's kind of like my little test. I'm like, I've like always low key done that and just like never really acknowledged it. But this was one of those movies where like I didn't even think to do this test, but like there wasn't a part where there's no like good bathroom break part.
No.
Also, I meant to say this at the very beginning of the episode, but this is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. So if you have not seen The Batman and you don't want it to be spoiled, this is your final warning. But we're going to be talking about everything that happened in the movie as well as speculation on future movies. So, little spoiler warning there. But I mean, it was from start to finish wonderful. But what other initial thoughts do you have on it?
Paul Dano was terrifying. As the Riddler, I think he did a great job. There were certainly some scenes where I felt as though they pushed it, Matt Reeves kind of they wrote him into a direction that didn't completely match the tone of the rest of the movie, and those were scarce. It was every once in a while I would kind of look at it and be like, this is a little too cartoony / like campy for this world that they've got him set in.
I think I know what scenes you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into it, but I mean, one of them when he starts singing Ave Maria and the glasses kind of putting in between them, I understand what they were going for. That song kind of repeats throughout the entire movie. It's almost like his theme music.
Yeah.
But when he starts belting it out, and Batman's obviously got this glass separating them both. He started to kind of go on that villain who's now like even though everything went wrong, for some reason he starts freaking about everything going wrong in his plan, because Batman was supposed to be, with him on this.
Right.
But then he sort of leans into the whole, actually, I know my own plan and it's going great. So like, it was just a weird switch where when he started singing that song, it kind of seemed like a villain who belonged in almost like a Ben Affleck Batman universe, if you know what I mean. Like a little more cartoony.
Okay.
Just a little bit more cartoony.
Where this was very grounded.
Yes.
Like, more
right.
so than, other Batman movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like Nolan trilogy, it was super grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Very realistic. But this was even a step further down.
Yes. Yeah.
In a good way.
Other than that, I mean, like I said, performances were great. I think even though we didn't see all that much of Andy Serkis, I think he was a great Alfred. I kind of liked their... I kind of liked that they weren't necessarily that buddy that we're used to.
That's a main point I
Right?
wrote down.
Right? It was like I was expecting them to kind of be like, oh, like another late night, sir, or like something, like nudge each other, and
Or like
hey, you,
Michael Caine and Christian Bale.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, taking the Lamborghini.
Yeah.
It's like they're like little buddy, and he's always giving him crap, and he's
Right.
like, why do you do all those push-ups? And like
Yeah.
all that stuff, and like. Colin and I are like going to try to not to compare this to the Nolan trilogy this
It's
whole
hard not to.
episode, but we will at one point really focus on that. But yeah, no, I wrote that down as well
Yeah.
as one point that stuck out to me that I liked a lot.
I just like that a lot because I mean, if you really look at the situation that they were put in, Alfred never really signed up to be this guy's dad character,
Right.
his father character. He didn't. He was doing his job.
Yeah.
And so
He clearly cares.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
what that relationship showed to me was that like Bruce is so deep inside this Batman persona where, a lot of people are saying like the Batman is his true identity and Bruce is the mask. And I'm going to get way more into this when we like go character by character and everything, but it kind of showed that he doesn't care about his relationship with Alfred at this point, and he is so deep in it that like Alfred's just like, maybe frustrated with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously he's frustrated that he's not being the Bruce Wayne that people expect him to be. That's evident throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed their relationship a lot, and I'm sure we'll touch on it more.
Oh yeah. And then a lot of the action sequences I think were raw. Really cool.
Yeah.
Very, very realistic. In that Batman doesn't go, untouched in these fights.
No.
Like he gets hit a lot. like
He's
takes
eating bullets.
He takes a beating. And I mean that's how it would be. I don't care, like how well you are trained in, martial arts or whatever Alfred ended up teaching him. But you are going to take hits when you're fighting 6, 7+ guys. You're going to get hit. And I like how they took that into account. They weren't just like, yeah, he's going to go, unscathed.
Yeah.
Just completely work this room of criminals.
Yeah.
And then walk out, untouched. So
the actual fighting itself was also, in my opinion, the least obviously choreographed fighting. It felt in that I think that goes across like the other comic book movies as well. But this was very like in my opinion, like not like more of like a dance, but it was like very just raw. Like we said, it's just like clearly just a fight. They're both trying not to die.
Well, it gave vibes of Finn against Kylo in
That's
Force
actually what I was
Awakens,
just thinking
right?
about. Yeah,
Right?
where
it was super, like you said, super raw, and it's just two people. They don't care how good it looks.
Yeah.
They want to win.
That's exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Whereas like the prequels are very choreographed and
Oh, yeah.
advanced, and like don't get me wrong,
Backflips, yeah.
love the prequels and love those fights. Like those are my favorite fights. But transitioning from that to the sequel trilogy, which is like very much more just like two people trying to kill each other.
Yeah, it's a duel. That's what it is.
Yeah. So, I thought that was a really cool point. But for me, like my initial reaction to the movie, like I like the night we saw it, I couldn't even kind of like put it all into words.
Yeah.
But like the next few days, I just couldn't stop thinking about Batman.
Yeah.
And like every day, I was just like, I'd go to like the gym, and the rest of the staff, they know that like I'm into Batman and stuff, and they'd ask me, I'd be like, guys, I can't talk about it right now, but it was amazing. And like I just one night I was just sitting in bed like thinking about this movie and how good it was, and I don't know, I just thought it was so well done, and the more I think about it, the more I appreciate from it. Like one of my favorite things is just like right off the bat, you are put into this detective world, and you hear like Robert Pattinson's voiceover, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
I'm in for this.
Yeah. And like he's like giving his like little account of like Halloween night, it's raining but they're still out, and I was just like people are still out to party, and I was like, this is so cool. And I liked how at the beginning we see like the view of the kid in the ninja suit.
Yes.
And like I was like, is that Bruce?
Right. I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah. I was like, is this a flashback? What's going on here? And then, turns out to be the mayor and his kid and everything. But it was just such a cool way to open up the movie.
And you hear Paul Dano's Riddler's like weird like wheeze breathing because he's wearing this, it was like a winter military mask or something like that. You hear that like creepy breathing in the background. So like a part of me was like, this could be Batman. And he might be in like sort of like a prototype suit where his mouth is covered or something like that. That's the thing. Like you don't know. And then later on in the movie, there's actually a scene where you almost get that same perspective through a lens, through binoculars or whatever it is. And it is Batman. And he's spying on Selina and trying to see what's going on. And it's the same perspective. So you can see that like, they use point of view shots throughout the movie that kind of put you into the role of each side.
Yeah.
That I think is a really cool just change up of view. And it's very immersive into that. And that's also why I feel like even just having one movie with this Gotham City, I feel like I know this Gotham better than any of the other ones in previous Batman movies. This
one was a good mix, in my opinion, of a lot of the previous ones, where it's very realistic. Like you get some aspects of it. I think it was very like New York City feeling. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they shot in other cities too. But you got that feeling. But then like some of it was so kind of like I don't know architecture styles, but like a very specific architecture style that felt almost like even a little Tim Burton and a little comic booky. Where
I know what you mean. Yeah.
In those, it
was like Wayne Manor, I think. Whenever he's in Wayne Manor, it's almost like this like archaic, like castle-like features.
Yeah. And like Gothic architecture, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just like I really appreciate that. Like it felt so many different things at the same time. Where like I could feel the comic book vibe. I could feel when we're in Falcone's like little den, like he's playing pool and everything, and it kind of looks over a main road. That felt like it was pulled straight out of one of the Arkham video games.
Yes, absolutely.
And I could just imagine you in a video game exploring this little den, looking for clues, and looking for like why Falcone did whatever. I was like, this is so cool, and And there's other vibes throughout the movie too.
Oh, yeah.
Like just the streets were disgusting and sad and
that's the thing.
dark.
Right. I think this movie gives you such a it paints it Gotham in the light that it's supposed to be. It is a crime-ridden city. Like it is not supposed to be nice. That's the whole deal. So every set design, first off, a lot of it takes place at night, that makes sense,
Yeah.
Batman, is going to do most of his work at night.
He's a nocturnal animal now.
There you
he
go.
says it himself.
That's right. Yeah. But it's just it's a crappy place. Like and they keep that consistent throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. Right off the bat, Robert Pattinson or Bruce Wayne, Batman, whoever, he says like in his opening monologue, like journal entry, that he's like, I don't even know if I'm making a difference. Crime has like doubled. Whatever. He's saying a lot of the statistics for crime have gone up since he became Batman. And I love how at the very beginning we don't have this perception of like, oh, Batman's been there for 2 years and like things are getting better. He's like, I don't even know. This is getting worse.
Yeah. And he has that great moment pretty much at the end where he's like, I can't be that symbol of just vengeance.
Yeah.
This is honestly like almost an origin story of the Batman he's going to be, without showing the real origin story that we've seen a million times.
I couldn't agree more. They definitely did a good way of showing growth and an origin, but like not just doing the same thing over and over again. I loved that. And that theme of like right off the bat, the first time we see him, he like comes out of the shadows and beats up that gang and he says, I'm vengeance. And like, first off, I mentioned this to you after the movie, but all the parts that were in the trailer were just as satisfying.
Still
I was
hit
like,
so well.
Because a lot of times, like with movies, the trailer, you see like certain really cool parts, and they just would have hit a lot harder.
You're expecting it.
But the vengeance part, when he like beats up that guy, I was like,
So
that was
good.
so cool. And like when he's walking through the hallway in the mayor's house, and all the cops are looking at him, I was like, this is so wonderfully shot.
Yeah.
I'm not like I'm not like a film student or anything. Like, but like I think I can appreciate good film, and like just the way it was shot, it was so cool. All the music, like the main theme. I was really happy that Something in the Way actually played such a big part.
Oh my gosh,
and definitely want to talk about that more. But oh man, it was so well done, and I've totally lost my train of thought of where I was going with that before.
We were just talking about him becoming sort of a symbol of hope rather than the vengeance in the beginning. But and you kind of back to that scene where he does beat up those thugs and stuff. You kind of see them laying the foundation of him realizing that he can't be that for the people. That he shouldn't be that for the people. Because even the man he saves ends up at the end looking at him and saying, "Please don't hurt me."
Yeah.
He has no clue what this. For all he knows, this guy is just a psychopath who dresses up like a bat. And beats the crap out of people. He doesn't know that he's there to save him. Yeah. He doesn't know what his intentions are.
He just saw him beat the crap out of a bunch of people.
Exactly. And he could be next. He doesn't know. Or he doesn't know, if he like accepts payment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like so
and in a town in a city like Gotham, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but in a city like Gotham, like you don't expect someone to just be out there a do-gooder.
No.
Like saving you. It's like he's like, I don't know what your stake is in this, but like, please don't hurt me.
Right.
I
don't know if you're with Falcone or like who you're with.
Yeah.
But right, everybody can be bought in this city. So who knows if Batman has been bought?
It was so cool just to see how corrupt. Not cool, but like this was the most corrupt Gotham we've ever seen. Where like all the cops, like everyone's in Falcone's pocket.
People popping droplets all over the place,
dude.
Man.
Popping droplets, dude, all over the place.
Yeah, I think that was such a funny choice. That out of all the drugs that are out there, Matt Reeves had to make up. He was just like, you know what, screw it. It's not going to be.
We're gonna make up our
cocaine.
own drug.
No.
Everything else in this
one's
movie
droplets.
is like the most realistic
Right.
superhero movie you could ever imagine. But we're gonna make up our own
we
drugs,
can't use
which are a huge part of crime.
Right.
Like,
right, yeah. Yeah. So like instead we've got the stuff that people are just dropping into their eyes and things like that. And it screws them up. I thought that was so fun. I was like, what a weird choice. But
it didn't throw me off or anything. It's just very interesting that they did that.
Like they did a good job of actually like showing people like using them and then acting a certain way afterwards. So you kind of got the effects of them. You realized they were drugs. But yeah, that was funny. Jeffrey Wright,
he was so good.
He was great.
He was so like, you trust him.
Oh yeah,
and like, I loved. One note I made about his relationship with Batman was it was the two of them against the world.
Absolutely.
And like, there was a part where I think they were on the rooftop or something like that with the floodlight, and he's like, "Do you trust whatever?" Batman asked him if he trusts him. He's like, "You're the only person I trust." I was like, "Dang!" It's like,
all right.
Usually you have like this whole dynamic where they're like, "Hey,
good cops."
It's like mainly with like Gordon being
Yeah.
like, "Hey, like, I know you're doing good stuff, but like, I need you to give me something." And he's just kind of like, "You're the only person I trust." And they're like totally, the two of them against
together.
Gotham. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, and I'm also glad that we didn't see him immediately get bumped up to commissioner.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like even though they did kill off the previous commissioner.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, now Gordon is commissioner.
Yeah.
So now he's the highest you can be in Gotham City Police. You're best friends with him,
Right?
Batman. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they've still got people above them, that are calling the shots. I'm glad that they went with that choice too. And he's got that great scene where he's keeping his cool throughout the entire film. I mean, like he has to hold a guy's severed thumb, like, and he still keeps his cool. He's kind of like, "Are you serious? Like, I have to do this." And then when Batman is in GCPD, he's surrounded by cops, and they're about to take off his mask and stuff. Well, some of them are kind of saying like, "Oh, like, let's take off his mask. I want to see who this guy is." And they start reaching. He starts freaking out and nails one of the cops.
Yeah.
That is the one time that Jeffrey Wright's Gordon really, like, he needs to defend Batman.
Yeah.
So to do that, he needs to get physical with him, which I never expected him to do. I was like, he obviously looks at him as like, he's the muscle. Yeah. I need to do my work as a cop. He'll be the muscle, but also obviously he's smart, so he'll help me out with the detective work. But he straight up throws him up against a wall, and he's like, "This is not the way to do this."
Yeah.
And that's and it was like a dad kind of being like, "Hey man," to a very young kid, "I get it. I won't let them take off your mask, but this is not the way to do it." Okay?
Totally.
Once you start fighting with the police, that's when you are screwed, man.
Yeah.
That's when you're immediately out, and they dub you. They're already saying things. They already don't like Batman, obviously, because he's a vigilante. But the minute you finally give them a reason to be up in arms over you, you are screwed. And he catches that so quick, and he's like, "I know where this is going. If this continues,
I can't save you."
Right, yeah, and I can't help you with that, so I need to stop it now.
He has this like mutual, like they have this mutual respect with each other, where he can just kind of throw Batman against the glass,
and Batman's not gonna,
he's not like he's like, "Hey, you're,"
he's like, "I'm actually gonna listen to you." And then they have that great scene where he's basically walking, like in the other guys when they're they're like, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
They're having that whisper like fight discussion. He's telling them sort of how to escape.
It looks like he's getting in his face, and he's like,
but
he's like, "I'm gonna let you go."
Yeah.
That's so well done.
And he gives him a good punch.
I also liked how when they see each other in the next scene, he's like, "You could have pulled your punch." He's like, "I did."
Yeah.
Like,
that was super, like, especially coming from Robert Pattinson. It was super like, "Oh, I'm edgy. I did pull my punch."
Yeah.
You thought that was my full force.
You think that was my best?
But it was also a like cocky young kid type of thing to say.
It's his second year, and he's probably in his late 20s.
I would imagine, yeah, and that's such a
imagine what if one of us was Batman,
right?
I'd be the cockiest person in the world. I'd be like, oh, that guy, yeah, he's pretty cool. Like, it's me. I don't know who it is.
Don't tell anyone though, except like your neighbor and like.
I fight bad guys.
Yeah,
never been killed. But speaking of which, what'd you think of Robert Pattinson overall?
I liked him. And I think when they first announced that he was going to be Batman, I was kind of like, meh. I was like, okay, mostly because we've seen actors and actresses do really well with certain roles that otherwise they would not be cast as. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like we've seen them lose themselves into roles, and honestly, like. Obviously, Robert Pattinson, the first thing you're going to think of is like Twilight and stuff like that. But to be fair, he has done a lot of movies that he's been great in. So
a lot of really good recent stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is a great actor. I think I liked his Batman, and I'm hesitant to say this only because this is totally. I'm super biased because I love a good Bruce Wayne that is like that suave playboy.
Yeah.
But this just isn't that Batman.
No.
You know. So it isn't that Bruce Wayne. It isn't that story. So I was kind of going in hoping that he would like ham it up a little bit, you know, with some of the big wigs in Gotham at some point. But then I kind of caught myself and I was like, you know, he is year 2. He obviously is still dealing with a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
Like you can see it in his look. I don't think he smiles once.
And you see him continuously get more like triggered from like his parents' death. Like the more information that comes out, you see like he is just getting crippled by it. Yeah. And he is struggling through all of what's going on with that. When you see him with Alfred, like you see him like he says something about like I never wanted to feel that fear of losing someone again. Right. And I was like, oh, that's deep. And like he's like, it hit me in the gut.
Yeah. And he's like, I thought I trained that out of myself.
Yeah.
And it's still there. And
oh my gosh,
like, dude, like
he's yeah. So
that's what keeps Bruce Wayne around. I feel like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That feeling.
And to your point about like, don't like a lot of people are judging him on something that he wasn't trying to be. Robert Pattinson, that is. They're judging him on. They're like, oh, but he was a bad Bruce Wayne. I was like, like I don't want to be that guy who thinks he knows everything. But I was like, I think those people who are saying that are missing the point of this Batman, where Alfred comes downstairs at one point and he's like, you have to go do this as Bruce Wayne with these, you know, whatever stakeholders or something. He's like, I don't care. He like immediately brushes it off like a 16-year-old trying to be told to go clean his room or take the trash out. He's like, I don't care about that. Right. All I care about is my angst. And like, but like, you know, it's like all I care about is Batman. Right. And like, he's like, you don't understand. Like and I think he really is, and I mean this in the best way, like supposed to be kind of like an angsty kid who's like who's going through something he is so fixated on.
Oh yeah.
Because of, you know, this trauma that happened in his past. And that's all he cares about. He's like, I could give a crap less about if, you know, the Wayne name is, you know, looking good or not. Yeah. And then this whole movie happens where the Waynes get thrown under the bus.
Yes.
But I loved Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I thought he did a great job. When he got casted, I was definitely really excited about that. A little biased, like him in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
Among other things.
Bring that Cedric energy.
And but I thought he was gonna do a great job, and he totally lived up to, if not exceeded, my expectations. I enjoyed his Batman a lot. And one thing, I saw an interview with him and Zoe Kravitz, and they're talking about his ability to show so much emotion through his eyes. And we've seen this like with Bane
Yes.
in Dark Knight Rises, where like he has to show all of his emotion with his eyes and his eyebrows, and Tom Hardy did a great job like that with that. This Batman, like especially in scenes when he's like just like in the first scene we see him in the mayor's study or whatever, and he's just kind of like standing there, like, and he's just like a huge presence though.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of staring and like observing and being very calculated. Yeah. And it was just like, I don't know. I thought
he's just walking around and like he'll like point out clues, or just like kind of like lean over something that's interesting, and then you
like,
see.
I know what this is.
Yeah, and like you see like the police kind of like start to like not immediately move over to where he is, but sort of like, maybe I'll take a peek at that too.
Yeah, he was onto something. Okay.
Yeah, exactly right. Like they don't want to give him the satisfaction of like them being like, oh, he found this clue. They want to kind of.
But as soon as he like turns away from what he's looking at, they'll like quickly go over and see what he was looking at.
Right. Yeah. I liked that a lot too. But speaking of Zoe Kravitz, she was great.
I thought she was great.
She was fantastic. I really, really liked her as Catwoman.
One thing I can say about all of these characters that are kind of named characters, like how they had Colin Farrell as Penguin, is they had these characters that we know that filled in like spots of a movie that like they weren't forced into the movie.
Right.
These characters were necessary for the movie to progress the storyline to move forward.
Yes.
But they just happen to be characters that we know and will play a big role in the future. And I thought that was perfect. Like it wasn't like, oh, we want Penguin to be in this movie, so we're gonna create he's just gonna be there.
Yeah, shoehorn him in.
Like no, he's like number 2 to Falcone, and he it was important for Batman to go talk to him and chase him down, and we'll get into that.
And it makes sense for this universe where they might not necessarily be the big bads right now. But the fact that now that they are our player in this whole big Gotham game, that's how you build a universe.
I agree.
That those big name guys aren't necessarily always going to be the ones causing the big problems at that time.
Right.
But they're doing their own stuff.
They're sitting back and watching, being calculated and figuring out how they can, seize whatever power.
Right.
Like if there's right now, like, obviously, at the end of this, Penguin's doing that.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I really like Zoe Kravitz. I thought she did a great job. Yeah. I don't know. I just didn't feel like anything she was doing was that forced. Like, she was a good character.
She seemed pretty smooth.
Yeah.
And the fact that when they introduce, Batman can record stuff with his contact lenses.
My gosh,
super cool.
That was so cool.
Really like that a lot. And I also liked it because the live feed is sort of like a grainy, like almost like yellowish color. Like it's not like high def or anything like that. It's kind of grainy. I liked how when Catwoman and Batman kind of get involved, he sends Selina to go sort of semi-undercover into, what is it, the Iceberg Lounge? Yeah. And she has her own motives and goes towards her own motives. She doesn't. She's using Batman just as much as he's trying to use her.
Right.
And I think that is the. If they had just had her be like, okay, yeah, I'm doing what Batman wants. I'm going to talk to this guy. The minute anything to do with her finding her friend shows up, she's like, going towards that. Yeah, she's like, screw you, man. Like, this is what I'm here for. I don't really care.
And that was realistic of them to have her do that. Because it's not like she just met Batman. She doesn't know who Batman is. He's this weird dude who wears a mask and a cape and like is running around the city. You know, it's like, and why would she trust him?
She's just as capable as him too.
Yeah.
So like it's not like she like has to look at him and be like, oh, I need him for protection in case something goes wrong. Yeah. She doesn't need no man.
Yeah.
You know, like she can handle herself, and she shows that multiple times.
I like the tie-in that she was Falcone's daughter that he didn't know about.
Yeah, I was kind of looking for that to play into her wanting to kill him like a little bit more. You know, like if I feel as though if she had found out something about maybe like her mother was actually like murdered by one of Falcone's guys and he gave the word to do it, that would have made a little bit more sense to kind of to put that whole like B plot in. I feel like that would have made sense for that to happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like she already had enough motive to kind of want to kill him from him straight up them having evidence that he killed her friend, like one of her close friends. So like I was waiting for that plot element to kind of, I don't know, be expanded upon just a little bit. Just the fact that, you know, he's her father.
Yeah.
But I feel like they never really showed that all that much. Like, did he know? Because she says it at the end, right?
Yeah, but he didn't know until that point.
Okay.
Right. Because she mentions something about like her mom dying, and he never showed up. But then at the end, she's like telling him that she's his daughter.
Right.
It's very clear that she's like, "It's me, your daughter. You didn't even know about it." You know, it's like it's not anything he knew before. I don't think. I'm seeing it again on Friday, so I will
get clarification.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. My dad and I are gonna go see it. Shout out to Will Chadwell out there.
Nice.
Will Chadwell. Never call him Will.
Whoa.
William.
Wow, William Chadwell.
Bill. I call him Dad. Or Pops.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chadwell, I hope you really enjoy the movie.
Thanks.
I will not be calling you William ever.
I tried that in like high school. I was like, "Hey, Bill," and he was like, "Absolutely not." I don't know.
Son, I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
This goes no further.
Yeah. I don't know why. Another thing about the movie that like has been pointed out by a bunch of people. I'm not the first one to point this out, but right off the bat, it's a serial killer movie. Like you see the Riddler like behind the mayor, and it's just like one thing. Yeah, that scared me. But it's like this was a crime, you know, serial killer thriller that happened to have Batman characters in it.
Yeah.
Like it was written. It could have been written like just a serial killer movie, and then there's like, oh well, we can put this character in here and this and like, you know, Batman could have just been like a hotshot detective.
Yeah.
Who doesn't play by the rules.
World's greatest detective.
And then, you know, like in this corrupt city, but no, it's Batman and Catwoman. She could have just been like a thief. You know, it's like it's just like
no, you're
it's
totally
all
right.
these characters, and that's why like I think this took it even another layer down or another level down of it being so realistic and grounded. Because like really, there's nothing in this movie. Like even the chase scene.
Oh yeah.
You watch it and like I was thinking like there's nothing in this chase scene. The only thing that was like over the top was at the very end, the explosion. But it's like a gas tanker exploding.
Right.
So it's not over the top. But it was the most action movie thing about it.
Oh yeah.
But the rest of it was just two cars chasing each other, and like they weren't like, you know, making the most amazing, you know, lane shifts to barely. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
It was very realistic.
They weren't constantly going off of jumps or anything like that. He has that one big jump at the end. But
I like that. That was cool.
That was a really cool one. And also like that just roided out muscle car.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool.
It was really cool.
Going from, it's funny like seeing the progression of the Batmobile because like, you know, Adam West, it's like a convertible with like red details and the bat symbol on it, and it's like, come on, Robin, and like, and it's like it is out there, the Batmobile, and then you see like all four of them in '89 and in the '90s, they are like, I don't even know how to describe them. Like it's not a car, it's not a tank, it's like, it's the Batmobile, and then you get, you know, Nolan's
Tumbler,
and it's like a tank, and it's way more realistic. But this was just like, oh yeah, we took a Charger and we made it way faster.
Yeah, like that's which is what it would be. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have those connections to like military tech. Like,
right.
He's not going to be walking around with a tank.
We don't see Wayne Enterprises at all. I don't think. Like other than like the reference of like stakeholders, or
right?
But
and they talk about like the accountants are here, like the finance people are here, or something like that.
But he doesn't have like Lucius Fox.
Nope.
Building him cool stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that was a great like stylistic choice, just like having this like muscle car in this, you know, rainy, dirty city driving through. It just made so much sense. Where like if you had like a crazy Batmobile, it'd be like, that seems so out of place. Again, it's just like, you know, this hotshot detective that doesn't play by the rules, and he has this really cool
and Dominic Toretto,
on
the side seat.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just fit in really well. So I thought that was cool.
Love that. Love the chase scene too.
I loved it. It was like, I don't know. It was so cool. The explosion was amazing, and then I like the relationship and like everything about the Penguin. I thought,
me too.
Like he's obviously not a good guy.
No,
but like he's just kind of like a means to finding out more for Batman, but he's not like, they're not like directly enemies.
No,
like Batman's going to him for information, and I love how he pulls him aside. He's like, "Take it easy, sweetheart." And I was like, "This is a cool little back and forth they have."
Yeah, I like this Penguin.
Yeah, and then like, I don't know, he's like a cocky Penguin where like you usually,
he's a gangster.
You know,
like that's all he is.
Yeah,
like,
and like you just see. Like before we have like this like short little plump like Danny DeVito, which don't get me wrong, I love that, but like he's kind of like he always has like trauma from being picked on as a kid and stuff, and like being kind of like, or he has like the deformities or whatever, and then like this we just have like this kind of badass gangster, and like he's like very sure of himself, and he goes by Oz.
Oz.
Love that. It was just he was such a good character, and it could have just been like a number 2 to Falcone, but it was like, but it was the Penguin, and then we're gonna see where that goes.
Yeah, because the minute Falcone is, you know, first off taken into custody, but then ultimately killed while they are trying to take him into custody, you see him immediately start talking to Falcone and be like, I can't believe you would do this.
Rat.
You rat. Like trying to turn all of his guys against him so that he can.
Like, come on, guys, let's get him. Like,
He's like, hey, I'm pretty much next in line, so I really need to drive it home that this guy screwed all of us. That he was working with cops. He was working for the enemy the whole time. So you see that like switch where like he's Falcone's best bud. And then the minute he has a chance to weasel his way up to the top, he
sees that opportunity.
Yep.
It was so cool, and I think they're playing the long game here, and being patient and learning from the mistakes of the DCEU, where, you know, kind of like we said before, like these characters are there, and like we're getting to know them, but it's not like, let's throw Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, Doomsday, like all these characters all at once. It's like way too much at once. This is like way more calculated. It feels, at least.
Catwoman mentions like Bloodhaven once, and it's just like, that's cool. Like again, the DC world is going on around this story. Yeah. So like little nods to that is cool, you know, like.
And then the reporter who was killed by Falcone, who was like had all the information about the Waynes. His last name is Elliot, which is the last name of Hush, So, could be setting up that.
Could be. When they were started talking about that, I thought that they were going to actually go in the direction that the Riddler and Hush were going to be the same person. I thought Paul Dano was going to be the son of that reporter.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
And I was just like, oh, they're gonna mix like
can they do that?
The character Hush and Riddler, or like, yeah. But yeah, that was funny that you said that. But I was thinking that. But yeah, going forward, they could easily go down that road.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've signed off on a second or anything, but Robert Pattinson has straight up said, like, I'll absolutely do a trilogy. Like, I would love to do a sequel or a full trilogy.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know if anything's like greenlit, but I think that was the intention going into it. And Matt Reeves said, like, yes, I'll do it as long as I don't have too many, like, or actually I think he didn't want anybody telling him what characters to put in. Like, he was like, this is my own thing. This is not part of the extended universe.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be, I'm not going to have anyone telling me to shoehorn characters in. Like, we are doing our own thing, and that's what it is.
Good for him. I mean, look at
how well it turned out.
Look at the Planet of the Apes trilogy. Just
yeah.
All in all, a fantastic trilogy.
Man, I really want to rewatch that.
Dude, we can do it. we have the technology. Not like those damn dirty apes. They don't have that technology yet. But those are great movies, and he knows how to make certain plot elements sort of a slow burn that end up paying off.
Yeah.
Like in later installments.
Yeah.
He knows how to do that. He knows how to orchestrate a full story, especially for a single character. If you think of Caesar throughout the Planet of the Apes, just imagine all of the development that has gone through that character.
Oh.
Imagine that with Batman for 3 full movies of him recently starting out as Batman. Heck, they could even do, now he's, next time we jump in, he's year 7 Batman.
Yeah.
5 years have passed. He's learned more. He's, Riddler's still in Arkham.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could do a lot with this. They left it very open-ended. They didn't really have any sort of end credit scene where it was like, here's what to expect from the next one, which I think was smart.
I agree. And the only thing they had close to that was obviously the Joker and Arkham. And like
I would love to hear what you think about this. Yeah. Okay. So for everybody listening, sort of a big spoiler is that at some point in the movie we see Paul Dano's Riddler in Arkham, and his stallmate or in a cell right next to him.
Adjacent to.
Yeah, there you go. A cell adjacent to is Barry Keoghan. Is that how you Kogan?
Something. Yeah.
He played Druid in the Eternals.
Yeah.
He was also in Dunkirk.
Was he?
He's been in a decent amount of stuff. Now
there was something else I was thinking of that he was in.
Was he in like 19? What was it? 1918? Or what was
1917.
1917. Was he in that?
I actually never saw that.
Might have been in that. I didn't see it
either. There was one other I was thinking of.
Yeah, let me.
But
pretty much, he is supposed to be the Joker. You see the side of his face, and you kind of see some scars leading up. And actually, at first, with his haircut that he's going for,
I thought he was Two-Face.
I thought he was Two-Face too. And then they really lean into him
he
laughing.
Like a clown thing.
Yep. Yeah. He mentions that, and then starts laughing, maniacally laughing, and it sounds like a Joker. So I'm guessing he's going to be the next Joker. Oh, Killing a Sacred Deer. He was in Dunkirk.
Oh, was he in Lawless? No, he was not in Lawless. I don't think so. You know what movie I'm talking about? About the Moonshiners?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he was, though. I don't know who I'm thinking of in that movie.
There Will Be Blood? Was he in that?
But anyway, so when
I want to hear your take on them introducing this.
I think it depends on how they go after this.
Yeah.
If this is like a long-term gratification thing where we see him as the main bad in like 2 movies, I think that's my ideal scenario.
Yeah.
I'm getting like Joker saturation or
exactly.
It's like it's kind of how I felt when like Star Wars kept giving us Darth Maul and Mandalorians, and like don't get me wrong,
I love seeing that. I can't get enough of that.
Yeah, I take that back. But like it's how some people felt about Darth Maul and the Mandalorians when it was just like constantly those were the themes of anything coming out in Star Wars. And we had Heath Ledger, which we don't even need to talk about. Amazing performance. Oh, yeah. One of the best villains ever in cinema. And then they like a few years later have Jared Leto, and I was so excited about Jared Leto.
Me too.
And like unfortunately didn't do that movie was just not great, and he didn't get I don't think he got the opportunity he deserved in that role. And then we get Joaquin Phoenix, and Joker was an amazing movie. It was such a good, disturbing movie.
Never want to watch it again.
Yeah, I
saw it once.
It's really hard to go back to. I will watch it again. I got to be in the mood, and I've got to watch it with someone. I'm not going to sit at home and be like, man, Friday night, can't wait to get depressed. Like, but I just feel like it's like do something else. Like, and I want like the thing is, I will go watch it and I will love it, and I will be so happy about watching him as the Joker. I will appreciate it so much. I just think like, especially with what they've done with this movie, they would have known just do a different bad guy.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like,
there's so many characters in Batman's rogue gallery. Like, there are so many good ones. Like, I loved how Nolan opens his trilogy with Scarecrow, and Ra's al Ghul. It's like, who and who? Like, It's like the average moviegoer isn't gonna know who either of those are, but then you care about them and they're good bad guys. So I thought, I don't know, I'm excited about it, and the actor himself, I won't think anything bad of his portrayal until he proves that. Like if he has a bad performance, then I will think something. But like I'll give him the time of day until he proves me wrong.
Be open to it, right?
That's what I was going for.
Yeah, but I completely agree with you, and I think a part of me kind of sighed when I did realize that it wasn't Two-Face and they were doing Joker again, and I was like, Matt Reeves, you don't have to do this. That's the thing, and you make a great point. It's almost like the Guardians of the Galaxy effect, where not a lot of people knew about them, so they could do whatever they wanted, really.
Yeah.
And they could stick from what I've seen, they stick pretty close to the material, to the comic book material, but if he picks somebody, not well known out of Batman's Rogues Gallery, like he's free to do whatever he wants with that villain.
Yeah.
Like he can make them as realistic as he wants. He can make them as relatable as he wants, which is what I don't see happening with this Joker. That's my only problem with it. From him already being like locked up in Arkham, they already have processed him before.
Yeah.
And even though it would be cool to see a young Joker versus a young Batman, the fact that Matt Reeves has come out and said in the 2 years that Batman has been Batman, he's come across Joker and he was the one who put him in Arkham.
Yeah.
The fact that they've already met it's kind of frustrating to me. I
think it would have been more interesting to see like Batman's initial reaction to someone like the Joker, but we also don't know what this Joker's gonna be like.
That's true.
So I mean, the optimist in me is like, you know, give it a chance until they prove me wrong again. Yeah. Where like, you know, I don't want to judge anything before I see, you know, if this is the trilogy until I see all 3 movies.
Right.
And then I'll judge it as a whole.
That's true.
Or when Boba Fett was coming out. Mm-hmm. Also, stay tuned.
One
of these episodes, we'll get to it.
We're just giving you guys time to catch up on it and finish it.
Or like the last season of Game of Thrones. I was like, they could save this in one episode and make every single episode better.
You
know,
right, and
make the season great. So I'm not going to judge a season until it's over.
That?
They absolutely did not. I wasn't even going to. But that was my mindset about the final season of, you know, Game of Thrones, and that's my mindset about this. It's like, you know what? There's a Joker, but that's all we know. So I'll give it the time of day. I'll give it like all my optimism until they prove me wrong. One thing that was this was so cool. There was an interview with Matt Reeves, and he originally wanted to have the Joker and Batman have a relationship similar, like a Silence of the Lambs thing, where Batman goes to the Joker as if he's Hannibal Lecter to get a profile on the Riddler.
That's really cool.
And I was like, why didn't you do that?
You should have done that. That would have been dope.
Yeah. So,
oh my gosh.
I was so sad to hear that didn't happen. And then Matt Reeves also talked about how he wants this Joker to be not just like he fell into, you know, a vat of acid, or he like has the scars like Heath Ledger. Like he has a like condition where he cannot stop smiling, and like he's been like ridiculed his whole life for it. Mm-hmm. And it's like similar to this silent film. I think it's called like the Man Who Smiles or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a very someone listening will be like, this idiot doesn't know this movie. But I'm blanking on what it's actually called.
Leave a comment if you've seen that movie.
Please do. Help me out.
And rip Adrian apart for not knowing it.
Yeah, but just don't dislike the video.
But just
But that is where my train of thought is ended because I lost.
No, he's got. We were talking about his scars and like sort of. He's going. So instead of scars, what do you think it is? Do you think
it's like? Well, at first I actually thought, what's the actor's name who does Cal Kestis in and he's in Shameless?
Ooh, yeah.
He plays essentially a Joker.
Yes.
In Gotham. Again, another Cameron Monaghan.
Yeah.
So, thanks for looking that up.
Yeah.
I turned to you at the end of the movie. I was like, was that Cal Kestis?
Yeah.
Because like,
are they bringing him in from?
Yeah, I thought like maybe a little like, but I was like, is this in the Gotham world? But they would never do that. I'm very glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But I did think it'd be cool if they just had Cameron Monaghan, play the Joker in this, because he has that kind of thing where his mouth is always smiling, or like Jack Nicholson when he falls into the acid, his smile, he's always smiling. Mm-hmm. So it would be like that, where his face is like stuck like that, but it's more of a like whatever, he was born that way.
Yeah.
That's what Matt Reeves was talking about.
Okay, right, yeah, and I can see that being super creepy too.
Yeah, so
like,
I guess
super creepy.
And I know what you mean by the scars.
Yeah,
on his face.
yeah.
Like, but it wasn't
like it.
It wasn't like mouth scars.
No.
It was like he just had like that's why I thought it was Two-Face. It was like on his cheek.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know, but
maybe just like through his like fights with Batman or growing up, or a part of his condition is, he's got some sort of scarring on his face or something like that.
And maybe that's why he puts on makeup.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's a good point. I really am interested to see, obviously, like, I want to see what they do with the character. I mean, nothing I say about me wanting a different character in it, and it is just because of the Joker saturation. It's an oversaturated character at this point.
Yeah.
If they had waited just a little bit, I think they would have been in the clear.
Or they could have proven... I feel like they really could have proven something to make a trilogy with 0 Joker references.
Yeah.
They're on the right track to make an amazing trilogy.
Right.
and just like for them to do that without the Joker and have that draw. Obviously, the Joker sells so well ever since The Dark Knight.
Right.
So
that's gonna get people into seats for sure.
That's that's the reason why he was in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah.
I did like Jared Leto at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, though.
Yeah, so did I.
That was cool. Yeah. That part made 4 hours. I mean, the whole movie was good, but that final scene in like the post-apocalyptic
with him dealing with Batman, like them kind of being on the same team of just survivors.
I did like that.
Yeah,
I did like that, and I like Batfleck.
Yeah. I think we'll just really quick go into just our comparing the two. Compare.
Down. Yeah.
Let's sort of compare this Batman to previous Batman installments, and to Ben Affleck's to Batfleck, to compare that. I think I personally sort of wish Batfleck had gotten his own movie.
I agree.
And it's not even necessarily that I liked Ben Affleck. It was more so I liked how cartoony and comic book his way of his fighting was. You see that like sort of small glimpse. You see a decent amount of it in Justice League, but a lot of it is just him fighting a bunch of parademons, which that's not Batman. That doesn't feel like Batman to me.
You could put any action hero in there.
Exactly. Yeah. But in Dawn of Justice, Batman versus Superman, when he goes to get Superman's mom, and he takes out that warehouse of guys, and he's doing flips. He is using the grappling gun to fling crates at people.
Yeah,
I'm like, I would watch a whole movie of this, 100%.
I know. I wish the DCU had done all those characters justice.
Justice.
No pun intended.
Nice.
There we go.
Right.
Oh yeah. Man, Adrian's on a roll tonight. But I have a different view on that movie. I like that movie. Dawn of Justice.
On Dawn of Justice, yeah.
First time, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I remember
you gotta watch the Ultimate Edition.
Gotta watch the Ultimate.
That's
Edition.
all you got. Yeah.
And like I remember going to the theater and like we hadn't realized the DCU wasn't good at this point. Like Man of Steel was the only one that came out, and that was a pretty good movie.
It's a pretty good movie, yeah.
And if nothing else, you get a really cool trailer with the Lord of the Rings music in it for some reason. And like, but then this was like the first movie where we're like, oh, this isn't good.
Maybe it's kind of falling apart.
And
watching the Titanic scrape across the iceberg.
I was so excited for this movie, and like, I remember like it was a Thursday night, and we were in college, and like I go see it, and I go and like walk out of the theater, and like I did not have a great reaction. And I was like, "What the F was that?" And then like I go to a bar, like everyone's at like the usual Thursday bar, and they're like, "How was it?" I was like, like I'm gonna let it sit for a little while, which I do anyways before I give it a rating. But like that was like I was like, I don't even want to say a bad thing about this movie right now. But anyways, let's compare. So everyone right now is comparing the Batman to the Dark Knight.
Yeah, 100%.
The Dark Knight going into this was for a lot of people the bar that was set for a Batman movie, as well as just a realistic, grounded superhero movie. So what do you think?
I think
we also both separately ended up watching The Dark Knight this past weekend. So we both recently, except that's a movie that I've seen like I can't even.
Oh yeah,
I don't know,
hundreds of times.
I don't know, my iPod. Watched on the bus in high school.
You're a true fan.
Yeah. What are you watching, Adrian? Batman. I like it more than you.
Batman again.
Yeah, I like it more than you. Don't worry. With my skull.
You're just mouthing the words like as
and then like you look at you in the corner of your eye, you just see someone look at you. It's like, oh, I know the words. Yeah, I know all the words. I am the Joker. I'm a chubby 8th grader. Thoughts?
So I'll lead us off with saying Matt Reeves, the Batman, does not push that bar any higher.
Okay.
It for me, it doesn't.
Okay.
I think I like the Matt Reeves Gotham better than the Nolan Gotham, only because the Nolan Gotham, they don't show, they tell throughout the entire trilogy of how bad it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
You always hear either politicians constantly talking about, things are worse than ever. Yeah. Like people constantly talking about the crime, how terrible it is. Rachel's constantly like, people are homeless out there, like you got to be helping and stuff like that. But then you like look at the city and it's just like, well, this looks like a normal city. It's like I don't
freaking Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
And they got a great football team.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully they don't all die.
Right. So this, the Batman, Matt Reeves does a really good job of, like I said before, showing Gotham for what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a crime-ridden city.
It is a fictional city for a reason.
Yeah.
Where like they didn't even want to use like New York City as an example because it's so much worse as far as like corruption, poverty levels. Like, it is a whole other thing where they had to create a new city in order for you to be able to escape and put your mindset into how bad it is.
It's like imagine a city where every public figure is corrupt and lets gangs and stuff like that do anything they want.
Yeah.
Like that's what it would look like.
We get this in the Batman.
That's what it would look like. What about you? Do you like Nolan's Gotham?
Oh, as far as Gotham in general, no,
itself.
I like this one more. I want to preface all of this with saying my whole comparison, I think I'm gonna continue to be open-minded about it, and it be open to change.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of people are saying, like, anyone who's saying that they like the Batman more than the Dark Knight, people who don't agree are saying like, oh, recency bias, and like, oh, it just came out and you're excited. And
right.
So and the reason why I love the Dark Knight so much is like it holds up. It stands the test of time. It's a phenomenal movie. So I think a lot of what'll determine the Batman versus the Dark Knight is its longevity and like how it ages, and I don't see that. I don't see it aging poorly. I see it aging very, very well. But so let me preface it with that. So, but I do like the Batman's Gotham more than the Dark Knight's Gotham as well. And a big part of it is because you do see Nolan's Gotham very much as just another city in the United States. Like you see them with their football team, like I mentioned. You see, like you automatically have characters like Harvey Dent, who are just like good people doing good work, trying to fix the city. You have Rachel Dawes doing, there's corruption in Batman Begins, but like that's just with Falcone and like the mafia and like all this stuff, and it's just like, oh, there's gangs. Yeah,
pretty much.
But it's like still not that bad of a city.
Yeah. And like the worst places you see are like shipping docks, and it's like, a bunch of shipping containers does not a terrible city make.
You see that in like Arrow, like you see that in every superhero show or movie that's in a city. So yeah, I think those felt like very much like, oh, I could go to any city and see this level of crime and corruption. But then like the Batman was like a whole other level of like,
it was like, it's bad out here.
I don't even want to look at that city on a map.
It is dirty, it's dungy. Yeah,
everyone's mean. And like everyone just gets sucked into this greed and the corruption, and it was crazy to see. Oh man, yeah. So
next thing I kind of want to compare is the score. We got to go over these score. I know this is a really hard one. Give me a little demo of the Batman score.
Oh,
it's kind of I can't quite think of it right now. I've got the Dark Knight in my head.
All right.
I can't quite
So,
think of
I asked to borrow your guitar for a reason, because I want to show you something I figured out. All right, so right now...
accidentally led us straight into that. I didn't even mean to do that, honestly.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, not even kidding. I knew them.
So while we're talking about score, I do want to, a lot of people are saying that the Batman main theme sounds a lot like Star Wars. Like, because it's, I have a guitar here, and there's a reason I'm playing this on a guitar, not any other instrument. Yeah. But it goes... It sounds a lot like the Imperial March.
Yeah, I can hear that actually.
So, they're very similar, but they use those two notes very intentionally.
Yeah.
And I noticed this throughout the movie, and I was like, I'm gonna go play on my guitar and figure this out afterwards and see.
Yeah.
And the reason is because, and I want to talk about this song and why it relates to this movie more. But Something in the Way by Nirvana, off of 1991's Nirvana's Nevermind, wonderful album, plays in this movie. It's a big part of this movie. So if you take those two notes, and you add a few other notes in there and turn them into chords, you get.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you change it up a little bit, you go. And you get Nirvana.
Dang.
And literally the same two notes, just turning from notes into chords, but they're, I'm not changing anything. All I'm changing is the syncopation.
Dude, I was about to give the composer, Michael Giacchino, like a whole bunch of props, but he just stole it off of Kurt Cobain.
Well, I think it was genius in how they incorporated this song, and they go hand in hand so well, where you don't notice that they're the same two notes and they're in the same key, and they can play right back and forth between each other, but they just fit so well together because they're the same pretty much, just different syncopation. But anyways,
that's so
cool.
I
was really proud of myself.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for bringing that, Adrian. That was cool. Dang, I would have never figured that out.
So, all that to say, I'm glad that was a nice little segue. So, I really did like the main theme. I've been listening to it at the gym, and I'm just sitting there sulking like I'm Bruce Wayne about to go beat up some people. But it's not going to beat Hans Zimmer.
No, dude,
yes, it's so good.
It's just
I'm gonna listen to it.
It hits on such this isn't The Dark Knight Rises, but every single time I hear it in my head, I always imagine that scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's on the bridge and they're like, "Okay, it's happening," and then they're like, "No, it's not. No, it's Batman." And then just over the bridge in the skunk, go. Yeah, it hits so. I think the highs of that score are always they're gonna be so tough to beat by any future Batman. I really do love that song that they constantly use in Matt Reeves' Batman, but I gotta give it to just the Nolan trilogy. Hans Zimmer, man.
Yeah, it's a high bar though, because Hans Zimmer in general has done a lot of my favorite stuff. Like he did Lion King. But I can't. It's hard to beat that one. But that's not to say that the Batman score was bad in any way, because what they did with two freaking notes and made it they have it on piano, and it's very light in the background, maybe in a sentimental moment, and then they build and build and build and build, and it gets intense during the chase scene, or if they're finding out some bad news or something, or the tension is building when at the end with the Riddler, they use the same thing. It's very consistent between that, Something in the Way, and what is the one that the Riddler songs, Ave Maria, whatever.
Ave Maria, yeah.
So like between those three, that's pretty much the whole score.
That is, yeah.
Like they have like regular regular score
music,
throughout,
right.
and other themes for like the for Catwoman and the Riddler. They each have their own theme as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very consistent in a good way, where they didn't overdo it, and like, I'm totally dominating this conversation. I'm really sorry, but
no, keep rolling.
With Something in the Way, I just thought it was such a perfect song for this movie, because for me, like, it's, you know, written from the point of view of someone living homeless, and like they're living under a bridge, and you know they have the, you know, there's something in, like, you know, the song is called Something in the Way, and I think, you know, surface level, that's such a good constant, like, you know, constant words to be said throughout this movie, because there's something in the way of Batman, like Bruce Wayne becoming a regular person. There's something in the way of him, like, living a normal life. And the Riddler, like, there was always something in the way of him living a normal life. And, you know, Nirvana, Nevermind is, like, that album is very much, like, part of, like, that, you know, Seattle 90s grunge movement, very kind of, like, angst in their own way. Yeah. Of, like, you know, there's just something between, like, these kids and society. And I think it was just such a perfect song to be, and it was never really a popular song. It didn't hit, like, charts until
those are usually the best ones to use. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you can't, some of the, like, really popular ones, like, when they're put into songs, or put into movies, usually they've been used in movies before, so you're visualizing another scene in another movie while watching the movie you're in now. So that's always such a good, and that's an interesting point that you bring up, like something in the way that, like, when I like heard the song, I almost, like, I took that phrase as, like, something in the way something happens. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like Something in the Way She Moves, or like by the Beatles. Yeah. I took it as them saying that. So it's so interesting that when you actually look at it, there's like physically or, you know, mentally something is in the way. Yeah. And you can sort of look at that as each of the people that Riddler sort of uncovers, something was always in the way of who the true person was. Yeah. Or they were in the way of the city becoming, you know, what it should be. Good. And like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And like, yeah, dude, like I was so excited to talk about this. And like, and also they were that thing in the way. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then it's really cool theory. Like the verses go, like underneath the bridge, and then he's talking about this guy living under a bridge, and he has this like weird, he says like, it's okay to eat fish because they don't have any feelings, and he has this weird view on like like who does it matter if, like, why does it matter to eat fish but not other animals and stuff like this, and this weird sense of like morality and stuff like that. And I think that fits in this movie again really, really well. And then but it also is talking about, a lot of people think it was like Kurt Cobain was homeless for like a few months, but Chris Novoselic kind of said that this is not about that. Like in interviews after the album came out and everything, but just the fact that it's about like kind of displaced individuals, where you have two orphans fighting each other in this movie, who essentially are both like homeless in a way. I don't know. I can't say enough about this song choice for this movie. Yeah. And like, it has like, layers to it. It does. So many layers to it. I was also just happy because, like, being a Nirvana fan, and I love this song as someone who, you know, it's a pretty easy song to play on guitar, 2 chords. So I learned it in high school, and it's a fantastic song. There you go. It is a good song. It's definitely been in my rotation on Spotify. So, but all that to say, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate the score in this movie. Same here. Yeah, I think it's great, and I think it matches the tone of each scene. Yeah, and I think really, really well. One thing that I'll say is, like, sometimes in a movie you'll have a good song in the trailer, and then they overdo it in the movie, and you're like, okay, it's like please, I've heard this. Yeah, this movie
you're banking the success on people wanting to come listen to this song
Yeah.
in this movie.
Yeah.
I did not feel that way
No.
in the slightest about Something in the Way. And it was in the movie twice.
Yeah.
And one thing about it, the first time we hear it is when the commissioner at the beginning of the movie is talking about the mayor being killed. And then the second time we hear it is when the new mayor is having she's like giving like a big speech, motivating Gotham City, how they're going to change. And it's like such, kind of foils of each other, like very different places where the city is, but at those two times that the song is being played. I thought that was so well done. It's so cool.
Yeah, see, like I didn't even notice that stuff. I will have to see it again at some point. Yeah.
If you're not doing anything Friday, me and Will.
Me and Will.
I'm sorry, Dad.
I'm trying to stop him. I'm trying to.
But do you have any other? Oh, well, okay. Actually, let's still pick apart the differences or like the comparison between this and The Dark Knight.
Yeah. We got to talk about the Batman. I don't know where you were going.
That's kind of where I was going
Okay.
next. What's your opinion on Christian Bale versus Robert Pattinson?
Again, I'm such a sucker for billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne, and obviously in Nolan's universe we get that. In this one, not so much. But as far as Batman go, I think both of them have a great Batman voice. I really do
have a point
think
to make about that.
Yeah, I don't think either of them, even for as much as many parodies have come out about Christian Bale's where is she? Deep stuff. Yeah, he's gonna change his voice. Like I like that better than the voice modifier that Batfleck wears.
Yeah,
I like that a lot better. But Batman, I feel as though, and again, they're just so different, so it's hard to compare the two because they are two different universes. They're both, even though they're the same superhero, they're in different points in their career, and they also have different resources. Yeah, like Christian Bale had Lucius Fox. He had Morgan Freeman, giving him a whole bunch of military-grade stuff, experimental military-grade stuff. Yeah. So his use of gadgets was great. The few gadgets that Robert Pattinson's Batman had, he made use of, and they were cool. Like they were very cool. He still had the grappling hook, which was really cool to see.
He used it so well, too.
Yeah. His Batarang that he never really used as a Batarang because
he used it as like
it was more like a letter opener. He kind of just popped it out.
That was a nice little surprise that thing
cool
came out.
That it just clicked in at that was his bat. The emblem on his suit popped out and was like a knife. That was cool. But as far as Batman go, I think Pattinson's gonna have to grow on me just a little bit more. Yeah. I think Christian Bale carried himself so well. He was calculated as Batman, and he was a sort of a pretentious douchebag when he was Bruce Wayne, which is kind of what he needed to be.
That was his act.
So that nobody would be like, oh, he can't be Batman. Like, have you seen this guy out and about?
He's being a jerk, buying that hotel.
He's swimming. He's swimming in the the fish tank.
And then he's like, "Oh, I was trying to make the light," And he doesn't care about his.
Plays oblivious so well. He's falling asleep in board meetings.
I agree. I think right now it's, and I hate I did want to say I love comparing these two, but I also I don't want this to be the only compare. They can both be really good at different things. I think.
Oh yeah.
But for me, Robert Pattinson was an instant for me. I really right off the bat, the first time he talks, he's not even using a voice. He kind of comes off soft spoken, and that struck me as very unique, very new for a Batman. But I really do love seeing him figure this whole thing out, and he does not, like, Christian Bale doesn't care about Bruce Wayne, his persona, but in a different way, whereas, like, Robert Pattinson clearly is just, like, Bruce doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And, like, he's, like, very much, like, secluded himself in his home. And he, like, goes to the funeral, and then, like, and also the reasoning for going to the funeral was only because the Riddler could come back.
It was Batman business, apparently, essentially,
He gets there and he just doesn't care. And I love seeing this, like he is so fixated on Batman where it's not even to his benefit to be that fixated on it. And it's kind of like a flaw of his is how obsessed he is with being Batman. And I loved seeing that, like, side of it. And, like, this movie was the Batman. Like, you don't see a lot of Bruce Wayne.
No.
And I liked that. And it shows how obsessed he is. And that is one thing that Christian Bale has said he regrets not doing with his Batman.
Yeah. Like, going into
that, like, obsessive
need to.
Like, he is, like, not well. He does. I mean, he's a hero and he's a badass, but he's not okay upstairs. And you see that with Robert Pattinson. So, like, I think we grew up with Christian Bale. He's always been our Batman. It's hard to beat.
It's hard to let go of that. Yeah.
But I will say I'm still having that conversation and, like, still making that decision just because, like, I think I was blown away by Robert Pattinson.
He did such a good job. He did better than I expected, honestly. Like, he did.
I think it just opened the door to a different side of Batman we haven't seen in live action. The suits, I loved Robert Pattinson's suit.
I like them.
And I love Christian Bale's suits. They're so sick.
They're great. And just the fact that you get to see that exchange of, like, him going to Lucius and be like, hey, I need to be quicker.
Yeah. You see it
and I
progress.
need to be able to turn my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he goes to him with his requirements as he's doing the job.
Yeah. That was so cool. But with Robert Pattinson, like,
does it come in black?
Love that. I love how with every Batman before this, they all wore the black makeup on their eyes, but then as soon as they take off the cowl, like, it would be gone. And I love how that wasn't a thing in this. And it's like kind of like Winter Soldier vibes where he just has the black eye makeup on all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And I just thought it just added to...
Especially with the hair too.
Yes.
Hair would come over to, like, his eyes like a little bit.
I love the hair. Great.
Yeah.
He just looks so cool. And like his suits, he kind of looked like spooky. Like everything about him was like out of a Tim Burton animation.
Especially his big old military boots.
Yes.
I think those were
oh my gosh.
Because you look at them and you're like, yeah, like, he would need something super durable, but they're not going to be like, what you expect Batman to wear. Like, you would expect him to have sort of like almost like pointed toes, like slip on, like you almost expect his pants to slip on and have feet.
And Christian Bale's were like that, where like they are very much more of a superhero, like a superhero boot.
Yeah.
But then these are like almost like Doc Martens. Like,
yeah.
And they were just like
you went to the military surplus store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if he's not a billionaire.
Right.
And like, but I loved how they put the suits together. I love the gauntlets. I can't wait to see more of like those in action. But they still had like the like spikes on the side or whatever you want to call it. It was like the glider suit. I don't know if that was in the trailer or not, but I never saw it.
I don't think it was.
So when he gets up there, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. He like looks over the ledge, and you can tell he's never done this before. He's kind of like, oh shit, I love seeing the fear in him, where he's fearless. He's doing whatever. He's like obsessed with this whole path he's on.
Yeah.
He gets up there, he's like, I don't know. And then he like, the cape goes away, the flaps come out, and it's just so cool to see. Him, and it's so realistic, even more so than Nolan's glider suit, which I mean technically makes sense, but like this is like Mythbusters don't have to like go and like do an episode on this glider suit, So I thought that was cool.
And he didn't even paint the glider suit black either. That's what I like too. It was like the brown that it came as.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like a part of him was sort of like, I don't want to have to use this. Like, I'm not gonna make it.
And he falls at the end. Like that part was.
He takes a big hit to the head.
Yeah. I appreciate all of that. Mm-hmm. Another part that's kind of like going along with the suit is he has that green liquid at the end, which could be venom serum. And
that'd be interesting.
And he just goes crazy. That's really the only point I wanted to make about that.
Yeah.
It could be venom.
Could be venom.
Serum, aka Bane.
I'd be interested.
Yeah.
They should introduce that.
I don't want any kids posting on our YouTube saying like Venom's in Marvel.
It's not Venom.
It's like talking about Bane here. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think those are the big things I want to compare about the two movies. I think one thing one thing from like that I focus on is the fact that they're very different movies. One is like the Nolan trilogy is very much Nolan. It's like high action, big. Yeah. Everything's big.
Yeah.
Where it's still in a realistic world. Like in The Dark Knight, like it opens up a big heist, and in the middle of Dark Knight, there's an 18-wheeler getting flipped, and at the beginning of The Dark Knight Rises, they are doing this insane. Taking this doctor out of the plane while the plane's still going, and like they have,
somebody holds an entire city at ransom.
Yeah, they blow up a whole football field. It's like it is more of an action movie.
Yes,
a very intelligent action thriller, where this is more of a crime thriller, detective noir, and they're very different. And like I don't think they should be compared as much as they're being compared.
No,
on like social media and everything. Right. Obviously, we just spent like probably half an hour comparing the two of them, so we're guilty of that too.
But we still recognize that they are two different movies.
Yeah,
like two different types of movies. Just because you like Dark Knight, that doesn't mean like you're not going to enjoy this one.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not ready to say the Batman is better than the Dark Knight. I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
And that was a week ago.
But you're toying with it?
It's in the conversation.
Whoa.
It's definitely, those are the top two for me.
All right.
Easily.
Wow. So it beat out Rises then.
It beat out Rises.
Okay.
But honestly, I love Rises. I think all three are amazing. Mm-hmm. I think my order of Nolan goes Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Rises. And that's not saying that Rises, I love watching.
Begins is great.
I think Dark Knight Rises is a fantastic movie. Mm-hmm. It's really well done. All three of them are just so good, it's hard to pick.
Right.
It's like, right. I don't know.
Choosing your favorite kid.
What was that?
It's like choosing your favorite child.
I don't have any kids yet, but
not yet.
I think one day I'll find out what that feels like.
But when you do, you'll name them Begins, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. And then I'll choose which one I love the most, and that'll determine which Batman movie I like.
Begins, DK, and DKR.
That's the only reason I'm going to have kids. So without further ado, we'd really love to go into everyone's new favorite segment of the show.
Over this podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna have to change the name from Donut Squad Radio to Shannon Squad Radio. But here comes Shannon for Shannon's segment. So please, everyone, while you're listening, please give a round of applause to Shannon. What's up?
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Shan?
How's it been going?
It's going so well. We've had a lot of good feedback about Shannon's segment from the last episode, so we figured we'd keep you around.
Okay. Hopefully,
the bread wars have begun.
I know. This one is not...
There's a lot of blood on your hands, Shannon.
This is not related to bread. Oh. Unfortunately.
Oh, wait, I think my phone battery is dying. We might have to end the show now.
Oh, dang. No bread?
Bye.
No Colin. See you.
We're just kidding.
Nice.
No, but I will chime in and say I, too, loved the Batman. Nobody asked, but I thought it was great.
What'd you think of the Batman?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I liked how dark it was. I enjoyed the... I don't know. We've tried to discover a word, Colin, for how, like the feeling you get when you watch movies like Harry Potter or like dark but comforting. Like what?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Do
Where
you know
like
what I
you
mean?
couldn't go out like not the Joker.
No,
or
no.
Joker, whatever you want. But
No.
like, I know what you mean.
There's just something. It's like a rainy Sunday when
It's not like
you
a
don't
guilty pleasure
have.
movie.
No.
But that's a good way to explain. Like Harry Potter is kind of like that.
comfy.
Where like especially like the last few where it opens up, it's all like spooky and like
Yeah.
the Dementors are all around Hogwarts and Snape's just looking out the window. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But like you're like
So
this
that-
is not happy, but I love this.
That theme, and I felt that it was very much along those lines, and it really did keep me interested all 3 hours. Like there wasn't a time when I was like, what, how much more is left, because it just kept going and it flowed very smoothly where you weren't, questioning where they were going with it or why it's still, yeah. So I thought it was really good. I would totally see it again, and I'm just also a huge fan of Robert Pattinson, so
Yeah.
definitely
What's your favorite movie of his?
this little indie flick called Twilight.
They only showed it at Sundance.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's super rare.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
But I did want to. So relating to Batman, and Colin and Adrian don't know once again don't know the topic, but I thought what we could talk about would just be some of the fictional prisons and fictional mental hospitals, those kinds of things.
Favorite prison?
Yeah, and so I say that because they didn't really talk about Arkham a lot in this film, but what they showed was like what is the word? Memorable enough that you were like, okay, like we're going somewhere. It said Arkham State Hospital. Is that what it said on
That's
the
what they said
jumpsuit?
in this movie, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then obviously introduced who we think is the Joker. So I thought we could just say like some of the cooler fictional prisons out there. I have a couple written down, but I figured you guys could each kind of go first.
I mean, I'm
catching you off
Adrian
guard.
has a really good one. So,
Do I have a good one?
I mean, we were just talking about
Dark Knight Rises?
no.
Oh.
You were just talking about a very dark but comfy opening scene for a movie.
Azkaban.
Yeah,
Let's go.
that's on my list.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
on my list.
Say
I
less.
I feel
know.
like you've got a really good one.
I was like, The Pit?
Sorry, what?
What are you talking about? It's a great prison.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 prison.
10 out of 10.
Which one?
Would come back.
The Pit, but also Azkaban.
Yeah.
The Dementors, they suck your soul out.
And they hoik.
And it really hoits.
Yeah, I mean, well, on that the first one I thought was The Pit, and then Azkaban. But also, one thing I like I thought it was interesting in this movie that one thing they kind of gave a background to the Arkhams.
Yeah.
Like in some comics and in some animated and probably elsewhere, you like meet the heir to the Arkhams, who's like the warden of Arkham Asylum.
Cool.
And also, it's usually called Arkham Asylum, and they call it Arkham State Prison in this, which was interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting to me because I did lean over at that point and say to Colin, "Is that a like, was this known?" Because that wasn't something I was familiar with, so I think that was actually pretty cool that they did that.
No, the good one's The Raft.
That's on.
the
I've
one
got that
I was
on here
thinking
too.
of.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the Raft.
I like the MCU's portrayal of that, where it's just like literally in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Very much like Azkaban in the Harry Potter movies.
There are a lot because I did my research, and there are so many that I was like, I've never heard of these in my life.
Yeah.
Like multiple in Gotham, multiple in like the Batman comics, multiple in Marvel, multiple in Star Wars. I have Lord of the Rings on here. Which one do you guys think I would have on here? Like the more known.
I'm trying to think of like all of our fandoms and like, you have Rikers on there?
I don't even know how I would pronounce that. Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Right. And I feel like all the Star Wars ones that I'm kind of thinking of are just like Imperial holding cells or something like that.
Yeah.
Iron
First
Prison.
Orders.
The Iron Prison.
The
in
Iron...
Lord of the Rings.
Oh. That's something I'm not familiar with.
I
Who'd they
think these
keep
were
in there?
just the
Is that the...
ones that I Googled when I went through.
Is that the one that's in where Frodo gets taken after Shelob's lair? Or is
Sorta
it
looks
totally
like it,
different?
but
Well,
Yeah, sure.
I just had a train of thought about another prison, but I can't even think about it now. So if you guys have any thoughts. Oh, one thing about Azkaban I think is cool is, like, in the books it doesn't describe what Azkaban is or where it is or anything like that.
You see it for like a split second after it's been like blown.
But in the book, like, you don't have any like visual of what Azkaban is until the movies. So it was cool, like, when the movies came out, that they had like what was that in Order of the Phoenix when Bellatrix gets broken, and a lot of the Death Eaters get broken out.
Yeah,
like that's the first time you see it. And it's like, again, in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
I know, and that might be. I would say that would probably be my like top because it is so cool. Also, Prisoner of Azkaban might be my favorite film of the series.
I think it's mine too.
Well,
and
also,
there.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
No, I'm taking it in sort of a different.
No, I was.
But I feel like a lot of these that like we sort of all say that they're in the middle of the ocean. They have to be pulling from Alcatraz, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean, that's probably got to be what they're kind of pulling.
Yeah.
Pulling from.
Oh, there's also the prison in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's
That's
a good one.
That's a
Yeah.
good
That
scene.
was a really good one. What was the name of that one?
I don't even remember. They do tell you what it is, though. I'm totally blanking.
Yeah, I have to look it up. But yeah, I think Azkaban has to be probably my top. And Arkham is cool because there are some freaks.
I think Arkham's my favorite. I think a lot of that for me is because, like, growing up playing the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City games added so much, like, depth.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're literally exploring the asylum.
The Kiln.
The Kiln, right.
The Kiln's a good one. From Guardians.
Yeah, which ones do we have in Star Wars? We have, like, obviously, like, the holding cells in, like, 2187. That's the one that Princess Leia was in. But Coruscant. Is there a prison on Coruscant? I'm sure there is. It's a whole city.
There's gotta be.
But
The Spire.
The Spire. I just think it's something cool. There's something cool about how each universe depicts their prison and
agree.
why. And
Well, I mean, like, you gotta think of, like, who the inmates are. Like,
that's what I was saying.
You know
Like,
what I mean?
Death
and
Eaters
Arkham,
and-
there
yeah.
are like some freaks in Arkham.
yeah.
Right.
And Harry Potter, there are some, dark, bad,
And you gotta cover
bad
your
people.
bases so that they don't get out.
And
Yeah.
Make sure they can't turn into a dog or something.
I was just gonna say.
Because our guards, they can sniff out anything, just not dogs. We can't do dogs.
And, like, the way, like, the one thing I was gonna say about Harry Potter is, like, the depth that's added to it, where you hear the stories of how Barty Crouch Jr. escaped, and, like, that whole thing with his mom, like, who was sick, and then, like, they just switched bodies, and like, it's cool to just, like, look back on, like, the lore of, like, Azkaban. So that adds a lot for me as well. But Arkham's got to be number one, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm also in a really big Batman mood right
That's
now.
true. That's,
Like-
yeah, same here. I know what you mean.
Just go get a Batman tattoo pretty soon, probably. Just, you never.
Arkham.
Yeah, just the whole
All of it,
blueprint
yeah.
Entire movie.
on my back. Sorry, Mom. But yeah, it's my favorite one.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll stick with Arkham too.
Oh wow,
Because
that's surprising.
I do really like the Raft, but I think coming down to it, I mean, who are the guards of the Raft?
I think
Like, would they
that's
just be
a good
like
point.
Shield members, like members. Well,
Yeah.
members
Well-
of Sword, members of
I think for
maybe
me,
AIM or something like that.
I think for me, what makes, like, if there was a game about the Raft and we played, like, multiple games about the Raft, and there's all this, like, lore behind it, and we really get into it in Marvel comics. I mean, I'm sure there are comics out there that do have to do with the Raft more, but the Arkham Asylum is, like, probably the most well known.
Yeah.
And the most, like, ventured into as far as, like, popular content and everything. So that, I think that's why it's, like, probably our favorite, because we just had so much more exposure to it.
Right. Marvel Spider-Man on PlayStation. There's a great raft scene.
That's a great,
Has a great raft
one of the
scene.
best games I've played in a lot, in a long time.
Fantastic.
Wonderful game.
Yeah, I think, Colin, your point about who's guarding it is...
That's what's going to set me over, like Dementors.
Oh, that is one thing I
Yeah.
was going to say. It's like cool how like even the Ministry of Magic, who are supposed to be the good guys, you know, they turn to like these clearly dark creatures to, you know, defend this or like to guard this crazy prison. And it's like they couldn't even use like regular wizards to guard it. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Usually, Colin and Adrian both will say that I find probably the worst things to like about each movie, and characters included.
We'll have a whole segment.
Yeah.
About that. That'll be Adrian's segment.
Yeah. Why we hate Shannon.
Why Shannon's always wrong.
Why her opinions suck.
But I think that it was cool that they didn't do a lot of Arkham in this, but you still got some, and it made you wonder where they're going with it for the next one.
Yeah.
Like,
leads you
are
wanting
they?
more.
Yeah. You know, will we see the Riddler again? Like, will the Joker? Will we see him breaking out? Like, who knows? You know, like we don't know where it's going, and I think, I thought it was pretty cool.
I think it was the perfect amount for this movie. Again, they're playing the long game, and they have confirmed 3 HBO series.
That's
That are
for
going to be.
what?
So they're expanding on this Batverse, the Matt Reeves Batverse, with 3 HBO series. The first one is going to be about Gotham PD. The second one's going to be about the Penguin and like the crime world, and the third one's going to be Arkham Asylum.
No way.
That's gonna be so
Yeah.
cool.
I didn't know that.
And I think this.
That's
HBO to be doing
cool.
them too.
I think they're finally doing it right. DC.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with DCU.
I know. I was gonna. Colin and I had a
All
very
these right
like
decisions.
in-depth conversation about all the things that we wish DC was doing
yeah,
because Marvel has just
they were.
They
trying
have-
to play catch up.
yeah. And you can't even compare. I mean, that's just a whole nother like thing. But
that's another topic.
yeah, today I just just want to take some time, get your guys' opinion about the prisons and
I love it.
Yeah.
things
Prisons and
like
bread,
that.
man. So which fictional prison do you think serves the best bread to the inmates?
Definitely not Azkaban.
Not Azkaban, no.
It's all salty and like soggy.
Gross.
Maybe the Raft,
Because
probably.
the Dementors bake it.
Yeah.
Ew, they don't know how to bake.
They've
They've never
sucked
baked
the
before,
soul out of
but
the
they-
bread
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
All the yeast is soulless.
This is soulless bread. There's no love in this bread.
I think the Raft.
Or where
I
if
feel
in
like
Lord
that
of the
would
Rings
be-
they get limeless bread. No.
No
Dude,
way.
no.
No, because they would
Nothing
give
but
them-
maggoty
they would
bread for
eat
3 stinking days.
I would think
That's-
the Raft is
yeah.
like the bougiest
Of all of them. It's where it's like whatever.
Arkham definitely not. You probably get fed.
I saw you go to say something and then you stopped yourself. And then
Or like poop sandwiches.
yeah. No, I agree. I think the Raft probably
it
would
just
have the
seemed-
best.
it-
they probably have golf and
These-
like all that stuff. Yeah, they're not.
like they're
not
like,
worried.
That's the
You're furthering your education in there.
Yeah.
Like you're coming out with like a degree.
Yeah.
And, like they've got art classes, yoga therapy. They've got everything for these people.
Yeah,
The people in the Raft, the
they're
supervillains in the
reforming
Raft's
their-
kind of good.
yeah.
Yeah, but thanks, guys.
Dude,
Hey,
thank you, Shannon, for
great segment.
joining us.
Great
yeah,
segment.
for
Yet
Shannon's
again.
segment once again.
Yeah.
You can expect her on our next episode. So, I'm
I'll
sure
start
you'll have
thinking.
something.
Yeah.
Batting 1,000 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope
And
so.
be sure to comment your favorite fictional prison.
Or a real one. I mean.
Or real
Spent some time in county. It was
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Really nice in there. Thanks, Shannon.
So, Colin, any last thoughts on the Batman or anything else we talked about? Anything that stuck out to you in the movie that you want to touch on before we finish up here on DSR?
Nothing really that stuck out to me in the movie. I think it's absolutely worth a watch, and I think it's worth a theater watch.
Definitely.
There are definitely movies that I'll see and I'll be like, yeah, that was definitely worth seeing, but you can definitely wait until it's either for rent and you can watch it at home. I really do think the amount that we talked about the score
hearing that with a full surround sound, the whatever it is, Dolby Atmos, whatever the heck they use in theaters, I think it's totally worth it.
I agree.
The punches in that were visceral, like you heard them.
I felt them.
Yeah. So I definitely think this is a theater watch. I think for my scale, my 2-thumb scale, I'll give a 1.5 thumbs. 2 thumbs is gonna be tough,
dude.
I only got 2 of them.
That's a tough scale.
It's a tough scale.
I would never have that scale.
Yeah. I'll never have my own scale.
Yeah, I agree on the theater watch. Visually, I thought this movie was amazing. Like,
yeah,
it was like, again, I'm not a film student. You know, I'm not gonna try to act like I am. But there were a lot of things that stuck out to me, just like specific shots that I can see the concept art, like that they were, you know, they drew it up. They were envisioning a scene shot like this, and they shot it exactly like, you know, it was drawn up, like the scene where he's leading all the people out of Gotham Square Garden or whatever it's called, and it's like an overhead shot, and he has the flare, and the flare is like the exact same color scheme you see throughout the trailers and throughout the movie, like that red, smoky with the black. Like I love that theme, and I think the movie itself is just shot wonderfully, and it would be a shame not to see it in theaters. So you haven't seen it, and you've been listening to this podcast for some reason, and you're getting all these spoilers. Still go see it in theaters.
For ruining it.
We gave you a warning.
Yeah.
Come on.
I swear it's a lot better than we make it sound to be, even though you know we praise it a whole bunch.
Yeah, or go see it again and like pick up on all the genius things we pointed out.
Yeah, all of those.
You know, but yeah, no, I loved it. It is up there in my top movies. And again, like, it just came out a week ago, so I'm having that in my, you know, I'm thinking about that as I rate it. But it is up there, favorite movies of all time for me. It's in the conversation with The Dark Knight, but I'm gonna let those two sit for a while before I make any final judgment calls. But I absolutely loved it. I can't stop thinking about Batman.
Can't stop thinking about Vengeance.
The
fact that they do call him Vengeance throughout that movie is
something I meant to bring up.
So cool.
It was.
It is so cool. Yeah.
I was like, that's really cool. And then you don't really realize what that means, and like how that's maybe not a good thing until the end, when like the Riddler, whatever guy, not the Riddler, but the Riddler guy was like, I'm Vengeance. I was like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
But anyways, any last words?
Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening to Donut Squad Radio and supporting us. We have a lot to cover in our next episode. Today we just had the first trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Colin and I both pooped our pants while we were watching the trailer. So we're really excited to cover that.
We were at work too.
Yeah, I got fired. So we're really excited to cover that, as well as a few other things coming up in the fandoms. As well as a few things that have already happened, like Boba Fett. We gotta get on that.
We'll get on that.
But other than that, that's gonna be a wrap for Donut Squad Radio episode 3. The Batman.
Plug our Instagram.
I would love to plug our Instagram. Hey, if you like what you're hearing here, go to Instagram, give us a follow at Donut Squad Radio, all one word. That's at Donut Squad Radio. If you're liking what you're hearing right now, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube. Continue to follow us. We'll be adding our episodes to other platforms shortly as well, make it a little easier to listen to. But we do appreciate everyone listening. Please feel free to drop a comment, a like, send us questions, send us any kind of topics you want to hear us cover. We will gladly cover it.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun for us. So that's all we have. From Donut Squad Radio, I'm Adrian.
And I'm Colin.
And have a great night. Thank you.